Hey everybody, welcome back. Listen, I'm getting right into the meat of part 3 of the reunion because we've been waiting on it for weeks, but just to let you know, I know that Kandi released a Speak On It with Marlo. I definitely know that. I'm going to post the Speak On It review after I do this. I wanted to do things in chronological order so they could unfold like a flower. However, let's get to the mess with no further ado. I got my handy dandy notebook and let's get to stuff. All right, they open with Bolo Gate, the main thing, the thriller in Manila, what we've been waiting for, right? Off the gate, Andy was like, Brian and whatever wants to know, if you knew you were on a work trip, why would you not think this wouldn't be exposed? Which I think is a fair question, right? Again, they keep bringing up slut shaming, but if somebody had gotten pissy drunk at a work trip and had like gone to the bathroom on themselves or had like ran around the block naked, right? Everybody at work that didn't like you would be, first of all, everybody would be talking about it, right? Even your friends, right? They would be kikiing, maybe to you, not publicly, but everybody would be talking about this. So my question with this is, if everybody's would actually be talking about it, what, like, I get the slut shaming, but it's like you guys are interchanging terms. People talking about gossip that happens on a work trip is not slut shaming. The fact that you allegedly may or may not have done quote unquote slutty behavior is not of consequence, because even if you had gotten naked and ran around the block 6 times, everybody at work, whether you work at Morgan Stanley, whether you work at McDonald's, or whether you work at Google, would have been laughing and talking about it the next day. You know, that's why people will work happy hours, people monitor their drinks, people do this. Why are we acting like things that happen on a work trip people don't talk about right now? Again, the slut shaming is of a different matter, and we'll get to that later, but can we just, like, honestly, that was a good question. This is a work trip, right? So anyway, they asked Porsha that. Porsha's like, well, we were having a good time. It felt like a good party. There was alcohol involved. You know, she's bringing in everything she can as to why she felt free enough to do it, and that's fine. But again, the repercussions, how did you not expect anyone to talk about it? Especially considering, Porsha, you talk about, hold on y'all, that's my alarm. Especially, Porsha, because you talk about everyone and everybody's business. There is nothing off limits, and we'll get to that, right? Porsha's like, production was asked to leave. What was the big deal? Production was asked to leave, but you know that you're on the point of reality show. And Kenya makes a good point. She was like, listen, none of these ladies are, well, not true. She said only a few of these ladies are my friends. Everybody else is just my coworker. And if you do it in a house on a reality TV show, you know, I have the right to exploit it for the storyline. Let's not forget these girls are working, and part of working is to defend and deflect. Defend their own personal lives so nobody sees what they're doing, and then deflect it, right? And then deflected so other people become a storyline. That's what they do. That's like the reality TV game. Kenya said she did that. She said, if it was me, they would have roasted me over crab cake. Porsha, all of them made it clear they weren't my friend. They don't like me. So what do I care about protecting them? Yes, if it was Kandi. No, I wouldn't have said. If it was Cynthia, I wouldn't have said. Cynthia's really interesting because I don't know what game she's playing this season. I guess she's trying to be Switzerland neutral, but it comes apart with her jumping in and defending Porsha. I know Porsha and Porsha got tight, but you know that's the problem with Kenya, Cynthia, and Kandi's relationship, I think. Well, at least let's talk about Cynthia and Kenya. NeNe demanded absolute fealty because she knows Cynthia's a flip-flopper, right? And it's kind of like, now that Cynthia knows that she doesn't have to show absolute fealty to Kenya, right? That it's okay. Sorry, I don't know why. Now that she doesn't have to show absolute fealty to Kenya, it's okay for her flip-flopping ways to be in full action. If NeNe hadn't held so much over her head and been such a domineering figure, Cynthia would have been the same way to NeNe. That's why every time Cynthia stepped out of line, NeNe got her back in order, because NeNe saw that side of Cynthia, the side that Cynthia is showing Kenya. She is a flip-flopper. She is loyal to no one. She kind of goes where the wind blows. I'm not saying her and Kenya aren't tight. I'm not saying that she is not loyal to Kenya. I'm not saying she's not a good friend to Kenya. I am saying that side of Cynthia that is a flip-flopper that will really call you out, expose you, jump on the other side's team while they're trying to take hits at you. And you'd be like, really? Like, girl, aren't we on the same side? Noone saw this. And I see why Noone kept Cynthia on a short leash. I definitely see why she kept her on the short leash. Anyway, then, they exposed the fact through footage that as much as Cynthia and Drew are sitting there all on Porsha's side, Cynthia and Drew were talking about what they saw even more the next morning on camera with a whole production crew. Worse than what Kenya just heard noises. Cynthia and Drew were like, listen, I saw Porsha laid out, I saw LaToya on top of her, and I saw Tanya on top of that. They were giving details blow by blow. So we can talk about Kenya, we can talk about Kandi, right? We can talk about Marlo, but let's talk about the people that's sitting right next to just slapping hands and kikiing with that literally let all the business out while a camera crew was present. Again, we know why. Porsha doesn't care because Porsha doesn't like Kenya. However, if I was Drew and if I was Cynthia, I would watch out because Porsha, and again, being that unevolved Cancer, Porsha holds grudges. Porsha holds grudges and she will get you back. That's one thing about Cancers. If you can stay on their good side, right? And always be loving and loyal, they will ride out for you. But the minute you hurt them, whether they take you back in or not, you will never be done paying for that betrayal. Why? Because all Cancers, water signs, are super, super emotional. But uninvolved Cancers, they don't know how to put that wall up and not keep returning to that emotion. You know what I'm saying? But Cynthia the Pisces, you're a water sign. You knew this mess going in. Again, flip-flopper, right? Flip-flopper. And Drew, a Taurus would have never stood for somebody they were cool with, telling their business, but also telling the business of somebody they're cool with. So Drew was looking for a moment. Cynthia just didn't care. I would watch that next season with Porsha. But again, Porsha's going to be cool too with them because it makes sense, because you're on a war to try to get Kenya off the show, just like you got Noone off the show, just like you got all your enemies off the show. And now you think if you can get Kenya off, you'll be Queen Bee. However, it's not going to work because Kenya's not going anywhere. And what's more, I just don't think that Porsha has enough to cover being Queen Bee and bringing drama like Noone did. And I also don't think she has it in her to be mother hen to all the girls like Noone did, because Noone could take the girls' personalities. Even when her and Kenya made up, Noone can take a strong personality and still kind of rein them in and be a mother hen. Porsha needs flunky. She doesn't know how to deal with somebody else's personality. She doesn't like anybody outshining her in any way, right? And she doesn't know how to deal with strong personalities. So I really don't see how. But anyway, let's move on, right? Somebody asked why didn't Kandi shut Kenya down. Kandi was like, girl, I don't control Kenya, which is true. Kandi doesn't control Kenya. Kenya doesn't control Kandi. They respect each other. But it's like, why didn't you rein her in as if talking to Kandi as if Kenya is SHAMEA? Girl, if you don't get out of here, right? Yeah, and like I said, they get on the shut shaming. Last thing I'm going to say about this, exploring sexuality. Why do they keep, first of all, we saw from Black Lives Matter, producers can keep anything they want out. So instead of blaming Kenya, you need to ask why the producers kept it in. The producers were always planning on keeping it in, and Kenya was fine to play along. Now listen, was Kenya wrong? Honestly, I'm going to say no. In the abstract, she was wrong, because putting anybody on blast, I don't agree with it. However, when you're dealing with enemies, when you're dealing with somebody that has stabbed you in the back, when you're dealing with all that mess, then it becomes a little different. Do you know what I'm saying? Objectively, did she do the right thing? No. Subjectively, absolutely. Anyway, like Kenya said, go to a beach, go to a car, go to your own home, but you in this house under me and I don't like you, yes, I will expose you for being a happy henny hoe. Let's move on. Okay. So then Marlo moves on, and Marlo's like, can we talk about why we're here? because of her lies. Now, I do admit on the reunion, I thought that the lies that they were talking about was like the Bolo thing. But Marlo had a good point, and Kenya had a good point, pointing it out that we are here because of the lies that Porsha made up about Kandi. Here's the thing that was an interesting thing to actually see about Porsha. Porsha really doesn't care about those lies she made up about Kandi. Like Marlo said, Porsha, you are a liar. I asked Kandi. Kandi told me what happened. I asked you. You lied to my face. You are a liar. Porsha is a liar, and she just doesn't care. And a lot of people give her flack because Porsha, being an unevolved Cancer, right, literally goes with emotional truths, right? The only thing about emotional truths are they're not actually truths. They're just how you feel. But to a lot of people, they see Kenya, they see Kandi, they see even Marlo, they see successful, outspoken, strong women. And to them, emotionally, they don't like it. They want to hate them. There's a reason, right? Kenya reminds you of that girl in 3rd grade that played you because you didn't know all your colors and couldn't read your sentence out loud, right? Marlo reminds you of that girl that's always fly and like you used to look at her and admire her for being that girl. And but even then you could never keep up with her even when you made a globe. Kandi reminds you of that super successful person that you can't keep up with no matter how much you try, and everything they touch turns to gold. Even though you try to put poison on everything, they touch it, and they can even make poison grow out of the ground, right? These are the people that have emotional truths because it triggers them to see someone that they feel is more than them, right? So when Porsha says these emotional truths, oh, Kenya's miserable, Kenya says, yeah, it speaks to people that want to connect with that emotional truth that's just not there. Again, emotions are not truth. They're just the way you feel, but the way you feel has a lot to do about your self-esteem and what. But I'm going to get into that, right? They talk about Porsha is not evolved. Porsha doesn't care. Even the way she's walking around and says, Porsha, 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 right? When she turned to the side, I did say, goddamn, Baby Bop is back, right? Porsha can wear a dress. We saw that at Cynthia's wedding, which again, I thought was super tacky. She looked gorgeous, but I thought it was super tacky to look that good at somebody's wedding. Because honestly, even though it was a black dress, it looked like a wedding dress. Porsha's a gorgeous girl, but you wore something that looked like a wedding dress to somebody else's wedding, right? Let's not forget that, right? Thank God Cynthia's dropped it gorgeous, but I did was like, But when she turned to the side, I saw the Baby Bop. I saw the Baby Bop action, and I was like, okay, all right, Porsha, whatever. But moving on, she's like, Porsha, Porsha, Porsha. And the way she was so flippant about it, the way she was like, let's move on. I was like, you are still not remorseful about what you did with Kandi when you spread those lies. All that crying on stage, all those dramatics, that was just some unevolved Cancer mess to get past what happened and to get you into a better place with Kandi. And Kandi fell for it. I hope this time Kandi actually sees who or what she is dealing with, but I don't know, right? Then Porsha starts going in on Kenya. Porsha is the word. The thing is, she kept trying to do that Nene thing where Nene used to overtalk everybody, right? But when Nene was overtalking, she was actually saying some funny shit. She was pushing her punchlines through. Her wit, her zaniness, everything was full fronted. Don't get me wrong. Toward the end, I remember Nene became so toxic. I couldn't stand her. But not so toxic I wanted her to leave. I just wanted her to go back to like a more lighthearted, fun place. But I don't know what Nene was going through, right? So we'll leave that. But Porsha's over talking Kenya, yelling over Marlo, but she's not saying anything. It's like 3rd grade reads. Well, what about your husband? You can't keep still lying. You can't keep a man. Every man you bought around been a lie. Porsha projects a lot. First of all, every man Kenya's bought around has not been a lie. It's been proven. Kenya has a thing for toxic men that mistreat her, but that doesn't mean they weren't in a real toxic relationship. Porsha, every man you bought around has been a lie. Todd was a lie. You were trying to make him sign a baby nut. Dinner was a lie, right? Cordell allegedly was a lie. Porsha, I'm beginning to see that Porsha projects a lot. She's yelling, trying to pick up rumors, trying to bring up old things, and it's just not landing. Y'all, why does this reunion suck? Because you have the powerhouse and the intelligence, which is Kenya Moore, It's an ensemble. Everybody brings something to the table. But the person sitting to the other side of Andy, I don't care what anyone said. Porsha's reads were elementary. Porsha was yelling shit over talking people, but she really wasn't saying anything. It was just a mess, right? And yeah, you know, Kenya's like, it was very hurtful. No, Kandi said it was very hurtful when you repeated lies about me. Y'all, I know it was hurtful, but also Kandi has a point. Shit, like on the internet, shit lasts. It's like accusing somebody of child molestation. There's always going to be people that believe. People are triggered by that. If I hear somebody being accused of child molestation, even if you are exonerated, I will still always side-eye you and no, I'm not bringing my child around you. I don't care. The courts might have got it wrong. You don't play around with shit like that. I'm not going to come around with that. But when it comes to when it comes to Kandi, I can say the same thing. Are you going to bring somebody around when you heard there were rumors that, especially considering T.I., Tiny, all that stuff? I don't know. Let's move on, right? So we get into them bringing up slut shaming again. It's not slut shaming when you don't like the person. We know where this is coming from. I don't understand. Is it okay for Porsha to talk about Kenya's marriage, but Kenya can't talk about Porsha making a fool of herself on a work trip? I'm confused at where this line in the sand. But again, remember when I told you that unevolved cancer is super, super good at dealing in emotional truths. The emotional truth is a lot of y'all don't like Kenya. The emotional truth is a lot of y'all are jealous about Kandi. The emotional truth is a lot of you guys are jealous of Marlo and her life and the way that she came from the gutter and built something up, and y'all still trying to build. So that emotional truth is I don't like you. So because I don't like you, and I identify with Porsha, or, because she doesn't like you, then whatever she says is true, and there are no rules, there's just feelings. Man, get out of here with that much. They talk about it. She's like, listen, it was a lie. You've called me a prostitute twice, so what are you talking about slut shaming, right? Porsha is so dangerous. She lies at a, we need to start addressing the way, again, I know this is just a show. I know that nobody knows the real Porsha. Nobody knows the real Kenya. If you think you do, you're wrong because you only know what production says. But we are talking about the archetypes that they represent. Porsha's a dangerous archetype. She lies at the drop of a hat. Just that quick when she said, I called you a prostitute. She said, I read it in the news somewhere. First of all, you didn't read it in the news. If you did read it, it might have been off of a blog. A blog is not news. And second of all, where did anybody ever hear that Kenya was a prostitute? On blogs or in news. But she throws out lies so quickly, just like she lied about Marvin, just like she lied about everything else, just like she lied. Then Porsha feeds into that emotional truth again, right? Because Kenya's an Aquarius and she is literally just dealing in cold, hard logic. Kenya gets emotional, but like any true Aquarius, you can detach yourself from that emotion at any moment. Portia's like, I'm a beautiful woman, and whatever I choose to do with my body, you keep swimming into that emotional truth. Looking for cover, that's not the issue. But did y'all catch how scary it was? That just that quick, she lied on a drop of the hat and said she read it in the news somewhere, that she read that Kenya was a prostitute. You didn't read it in the news. It was never in the news. It might have been in the blogs, but let's be real. And I did a Google search. I didn't see anything in any blog. Porsha is a liar to her heart, but she projects, and she said, and you're obsessed with me, and you look ridiculous. She keeps trying to bring this meanie heat. Porsha, I'm sorry, you don't have it. Again, Porsha is not stupid. She's not dumb, but she's an idiot. I remember somebody said that in the comments. Porsha is not dumb, but she is an idiot, right? And she said, and you look pressed and you look ridiculous. Porsha, the only person that looks ridiculous is you right now. And then Drew. That's a fair point. Drew, shut up. Shut up, Drew. Oh, just shut up. Anyway, let's move on. Kandi jumps in with a beautiful point when she said, listen, let's put this in perspective. Because Kandi was waiting for that. She's like, let's put this into perspective. Let's just say this bachelor party had happened, right? Y'all mess around, y'all clone kiss, whatever. Nobody caught it on film, so it was all secret. Then 2 years later, you're on camera with me and you accuse me of being a lesbian for 7 years. Again, when they showed that flashback, you showed Porsha's unevolved, devious mind. Y'all, Porsha is dangerous. The archetype she portrays is dangerous. It is an archetype of chaos. It is an archetype of destruction. It is an archetype of vindictiveness. Porsha is who the Porsha's archetype is who the producers keep trying to make Kenya. But she said, remember when she just lied? Oh, you had a lesbian relationship for 7 years, just lying. So then when Kandi was like, what are you talking about? She was just like, oh, somebody told me that you were going to drug me. When you called somebody out on a lie, you went deeper into a person you knew was a lie. And Kandi was like, and how would you feel when I'm looking at you like you're the one that was kissing me, or we were kissing each other, right? We were kissing each other, but now you're bringing up all these lies about what happened, who, what, where. Again, Kandi exposes how dangerous Porsha is, right? And Porsha doesn't have anything to say except for, again, going to that little unevolved cancer sideways, crab moving sideways. You're bringing this up 4 years later. Now we're here to condemn me. Again, that emotional truth. You're right. Everybody else is wrong. You feel. Nobody can call you out. Nobody can call you a hypocrite. Nobody can call you a liar. You can talk about people's children. You can talk about people's marriage. You can talk about people's husbands. You can talk about people being lesbian. You can talk about whatever you want. You can defend whatever you want. You can be whoever's friend you want and do what you want, but nobody ever better, dear. Yeah, no, it's not gonna fly. Andy asked Porsha a good question. Well, Kandi, good question. Do you think you buried the hatchet with Porsha? I know you asked before, but now I'm asking again. And again, Kandi says, I'm always gonna feel a type of way. Like I said, you can't accuse people of stuff in this internet age that you know you lied about and expect it not to affect somebody's life. So of course, which again, I think is so funny because honestly, if it affected your life that much, why do you keep trying to get to a better space with Porsha? Maybe she actually does think Porsha's naive. Maybe she does feel that emotional honesty, but that's the thing about Porsha's emotions. They are very raw, they are very sensitive, and she will lash out to you when she actually feels like it, right? Then they ask about, she says, I felt like we're moving into a bigger place. Porsha starts deflecting, saying with Tanya and me and whether we slept together, and you guys are trying to focus more on Bolo. Again, that PR campaign she's going to rehabilitate her image, she keeps pushing forward to that. Right now it's about Bolo. We can't talk about the past. But then she's just that quick to be like, oh, but I know you, Kenya, and I know you, Marlo, and I know you've done some things. Again, dangerously lying, because let's actually be real, right? You don't know anything Marlo's done. You don't know anything Kenya's done. You have not been in the room with them. You have not been listening outside. All you know is gossip, speculation, and pure innuendo, right? But you're willing to repeat that like it's the truth to counteract the actual truth of what everybody knows and what everybody saw and what everybody, except SHAMEA, admitted to witnessing, right? Kandi did. Cynthia did. Drew no, that's a fair point. Drew admitted to it. Kenya said she heard. I mean, girl, again, why do producers and Andy and everyone else allow her to bring up lies, speculation, and innuendo as if it's the truth? And then if I was Kenya, I feel like I was going crazy. And that's why Marlo was like, oh, Lord, how can I show you the truth? And it's up for debate. But then you bring lies back up because why? You're bringing that emotional truth. And anyone that's ever had issue with anyone that reminds you of Marlo, Kenya, or Kandi is going to dig in very, very hard to that emotional truth. Because the emotional truth is, I don't like you, so I don't need a reason not to like you. Just like if I liked you, I don't need a reason to like you, right? Emotional truth. Two sides of the coin. Kandi likes Porsha. She doesn't need a reason to like Porsha. Porsha can throw her less than nothing and Kandi will grip onto it and try to move to a better place, right? Anyway, let's move on.
Okay.
Right. So then they asked Porsha like what her opinion is. She was like, I mean, honestly, that's the only time she told the truth. When she's like, I can't be mad. I can't hold Kandi accountable. You know, we all know what Porsha did to Kandi. So, you know, moving on. Then they flipped to the page 6 thing, right? Who leaked it to page 6? Okay, first of all, my opinion, production leaked it to page 6 because Kenya got fired before, I think, for leaking her wedding to blogs, but not letting Real Housewives of Atlanta tape it. I don't know. It might have just been some bullshit, right? But from what I understand, Kenya's not leaking the blogs anymore. But even if she was, like she said, she doesn't leak the page 6, right? Drew keeps turning up in page 6. Drew has a publicist that, you know, she's trying to get her acting career off. No shade. When you look back, why does everybody keep leaking about Kenya, but Drew keeps showing up in page 6? And honestly, production probably did this also because it leaked for the whole season. They try to pin it on Kenya. Cynthia does that weird flip-flop that she always does when she's like, well, I don't know who leaked it, but I know who was the most pressed. And she was referring to Kenya. Cynthia, get out of here. Side note, has anybody noticed that Tanya and Cynthia have commented the same about the reunion? Has anybody noticed, honestly, that Tanya and Cynthia have contributed to the reunion the same amount, which is to say they haven't contributed at all? What the hell is Cynthia on that stage? I think she's maybe said, I think Shamea's talked more than Cynthia, you know? Speaking of Tanya, right? You know, Porsha, it's so funny that like Porsha keeps, and I talked about this, Porsha keeps talking about, whenever she talks about an old episode, she keeps placing Tanya in the room. Tanya dummy placed herself, but remember what I told y'all? This is why Tanya and Porsha are not close anymore, because Tanya saw that dangerous side of Porsha, right? Where Porsha brought her into the mess, had her up there defending herself like a goddamn idiot. She was so busy trying to defend her unevolved cancer friend and protect Porsha because Porsha has Tanya thinking that she's stupid. Again, Porsha might be stupid, but she's not dumb. Tanya's up there defending her, clapping hands. Yeah. I was in this girl's room the whole night. And meanwhile, she literally incriminated herself. And like Kenya said, if that was your friend, why didn't you defend her? Why didn't you say, no, y'all stop talking about Ken? No, she was fine to let Tanya throw herself out there, mess up her relationship, put her self out there on an island to defend her, and then be like, y'all, I'm going to bed. Because at the end of the day, Porsha doesn't care about anybody but herself, from what we can see with the filming, right? Then he asked Marlo, yo, do you think Kenya sent you on a mission? And Marlo, which I agree, was like, I'm nobody's funky. Kenya's not sending me on a mission, right? But Andy's like, well, do you trust each other? And Marlo's like, we're taking baby steps, right? And Shamea, those some big ass baby steps. Shut up, Shamea. But you still say more than Cynthia. Shut up, Shamea. Cynthia, you say something, right? But of course she's not, right? So then, Kenya says, honestly, listen, we're taking baby steps. She's a straight shooter. True, I trust her because she's a straight shooter. She might not use the right words, but she'll tell you whatever. And then she asks Marlo. Marlo's like, no, I don't 100% trust her. Listen, that's one thing you can say about Marlo. Those two Aquarius babes, they are straight shooters. They do not lie, and they will tell you to your face, right? Porsha tries to be like, but if we were friends still, then you wouldn't be taking Kenya's side. Okay, but Porsha, Miss Maniacal, trying to take Nene and become the queen bee. Since you knew all this, why were you playing chess and why were you playing checkers and Kenya was playing chess? Shout out to Erica De Niro, right? Shout out to Team Monique, right? Porsha was playing checkers, Kenya's playing chess, right? But I wonder what it would actually be like and what Porsha even be on the show if she wasn't the producer's darling. Because the producers watch Porsha's back and they hype her up. It's just an interesting thing to see, right? Porsha says that, the energy left. Marlo's like, yeah, the energy just left. They do touch on the fact that Kandi knew that Porsha was mad at her and then was like, well, if she's mad at me, I might as well go talk to Don Juan. And Porsha was like, no, and Kandi was like, but you left the group text. Porsha starts lying again, saying, oh no, I only left a group text when this happened. And Marlo brings it up, girl, you lying again. You left the group text when Kandi said you left the group text. God, Porsha is such a liar. And producer it's odd the future they see for the housewives. And it's odd for whatever reason that Porsha is the future. Because I'll say this, it's like Monique's fans, right? Porsha has a huge fan base. But that fan base doesn't watch the show. You see by the ratings being down. That fan base likes to defend. They like to watch clips. You guys might even be watching this review right now. You like to watch reviews, but you're not actually watching the show. So it's weird the way all these executives keep going by the Twitter faves, the Instagram faves, all the faves, but your faves are not coming in on the show. You're literally turning off people that actually watch the show by going with what these social media friends are. People on social media really need to take a step back and actually think about transference. Where does social media transference come into real life, right? You can be a fave on Instagram, but nobody's coming to your show. You can have 1 million people in there attacking someone, but nobody's going to your dumb podcast or buying your oils. 10 points. I'll cash out somebody $10 if you tell me who I'm talking about. But you see what I'm saying? There's just like a lot of people that just, I don't know. The networks have it wrong this season. They have it wrong. They keep listening to opinions, but the people that are loudest on Twitter and Instagram, they're not the ones watching the show. They're literally getting behind an archetype. They can't stand Kenya, can't stand Marlo, can't stand Kandi, can't stand whoever, and they're getting behind an archetype. People that want to rip apart an archetype, and it's like they don't realize the game being played. But anyway, let's move on. So anyway, moving along, like I said, Andy actually touched on the drama with Tanya. Kenya brings up the point I've been making. If you can't watch that video, it's in the thing. Kenya brings up the point I've been making about Tanya. Porsha is not a friend to anybody. She is not a friend to Tanya. She put her in a situation that could have jeopardized her relationship. Yes, Tanya's a grown woman. She is, right? However, emotionally, she was trying to defend her friend who was on this thing to rehab her image so she could be a social justice warrior. Shout out to them now passing out flyers to Ahmad Marbury's birthday bash, right? She's with the activist, right? Really, really deep. Google it if you don't know what I'm talking about. Actually, I'm going to do a video about it. You don't need to Google it. I'm going to do a video about it, right? But when she should have been defending Tanya because she made Tanya look good. But Porsha was happy to let Tanya get thrown under the bus if that meant that she could distance herself from the whole situation. I don't care what you say. She didn't just distance herself because of Dennis. Her and Dennis are on again, off again. Dennis knows who he's with. That's like Dennis knows, and it's fine. But Porsha is trying to make that jump into actorvis, and actorvis can't be busting it open on a stripper during a work trip and be taken seriously, right? But then again, she was on the flyer, so maybe people don't care, right? And I'm not saying people should care, but I'm saying that's what it is, right? So anyway, Porsha starts over talking Kenya. And you know, Drew, that's so messed up. Why would you speak on her? She's not even here to defend herself. Shut up, Drew. Just shut up. Oh God, Drew annoys me so much because Drew is so fake. She's so obvious, and I'm not talking about her as a person. I'm just talking about these made up storylines. I'm talking about her lies. I'm talking about the way she's so unbelievable. Producers, you have your baby. You have somebody that will do anything to get camera time, and that's fine. But at least Phaedra and all these other people were believable. I believe it when they do it, or at least I suspend my disbelief because it is amusing. Drew is neither, like literally, I'm waiting to see how her second season goes. If she calms down, if she becomes more believable, go back to your acting coach, right? Then this is the funniest part. Drew's talking about how she either knew or how Bolo recognized her. And she was like, oh, that's right. Because Bolo actually said, weren't you the person that I met out with LeBron years ago? Y'all, Bolo met LeBron James how many years ago, right? It'd have to be a lot because we know Drew hasn't been in Hollywood circles for a while. You mean to tell us that Bolo saw you dressed up in the sex dungeon and recognized you from the girl that was standing next to LeBron James, and apparently they didn't even talk, right? Drew, shut up. I agree with Kenya. That's a lie. Why Bolo, like Drew's beauty is so eclipsing that you would remember her from years and years and years back. Maybe you would. I don't know. I think Drew's lying. Why? Because just like Porsha, you lied about everything else. Why should I believe you now? Because this actually sounds unbelievable. So then Drew takes that time to brag. Well, yes, I know a lot of Hollywood people. You know, I run in those circles, and Kenya's like, girl, shut up. Yes, I run in a lot of Hollywood circles, but this is what she's leveraging on the show because Andy Cohen loves when people, like, she was like, you know LeBron James? Girl, shut up. If you know LeBron James, invite him and Savannah over. Invite the kids to come play. Invite LeBron, Savannah, old daddy, new daddy, and everybody. And invite Bolo too. Invite Bolo too, right? Anyway, and he asked her straight out, you know LeBron? She said, yeah, before the NBA. I know a lot of people. Now, that timeline might sound correct. Before LeBron got into the NBA, LeBron was just a basketball player. He was in Hollywood. He was in a party where there were a lot of people. Drew was an actress. They were talking. I actually don't like that too, because why is it fine for you to say you know LeBron and that you guys are friends, but Porsha, LaToya can't be friends with the Prophet. We'll talk about that in a second, right? But you knew him before the NBA. That means, girl, it was how many years ago? Because LeBron's been in the NBA for at least a decade. So you know LeBron from before the NBA. Y'all met at a party with Bolo. Why didn't Andy ask, was she there with LeBron? I'm actually curious about that, right? I want to see how deep the lie goes. But, girl, yeah, Bolo remembered you from a party 10 years ago. Shut up, Drew. Just shut up. Liar. But do what you got to do to secure that peach. But can you do it more believably, or at least amuse me like Phaedra and Sheree did, so I suspend my disbelief long enough to giggle at your scene? But now let's talk about the Prophet. Let's talk about the Prophet. So then we get to the Prophet lot, right? And Drew does her fake. I hate a fake Christian. She keeps trying to be Phaedra 2.0, right? At least Phaedra was amusing when she's like, this is sensitive subject, so let's pray on it. You make everybody join hands, and I'm with Kenya. I'm not even religious, but I'm like, this is blasphemous. Like, I don't know. I thought I saw an episode like this on The Omen or something. This is blasphemous, right? They have a word of prayer, anoint her tongue so she says the right thing. But then 5 minutes later, she's like, yeah, holy drip all over your face. Drew is such a phony. But again, she is one of those phonies, and Drew has church girl style, but the church girls I don't like, not the ones that I like. Y'all cool, but you know what I'm talking about, right? Where she, oh my God, y'all, did y'all look at Drew's Instagram? I did. It's a mess. Anyway, let me not talk about people that wish that they were sexy and she wants to have the Holy Spirit and the anointed tongue and be respected by all the other judgy church people, but she also wants to become like an Instagram girl and be sexy and be lusted after, but the mix isn't gelling because she's just not, she's not sexy to me. Like, again, anyway, she said how it caused an uproar in the prophet community because a lot of prophets actually pulled out once they heard what was going on in Prophet Lot. Drew, you keep blaming this on LaToya. Do you think there's any chance that the other prophets pulled out because you set up Prophet Lot, you spread rumors about somebody that he was spiritually counseling, which, as much as you say him and LaToya had a relationship, there's no proof. And then later on, when they talk about it, you say the cassette tape gave you everything you needed to know because he admitted that he liked LaToya, but he admitted because he knows LaToya's situation of being married, he couldn't take it any further. So you're admitting that whatever the situation is, there might have been some type of attraction. It was from Prophet Lot being attracted to LaToya, but still Prophet Lot being a holy man and respecting the boundaries of the sanctity of marriage and not taking things any further. So this is a direct contradiction to what you said on camera when you said that Prophet Lot and her were having some type of affair and she broke up Prophet Lot's family and engagement. You see how that works? So do you think, follow me on this, do you think the holy men saw what you did to Prophet Lot, saw the character assassination you did, saw the way you messed with his reputation, his money, his business. Let's not act like church is not a business. And they were like, yeah, I don't want no parts of that. And they took Prophet Lot's side. Do you think that's why they pulled out? Because if there was negative energy, why would the negative energy be directed toward Latoya? Why wouldn't the negative energy be directed to somebody in Prophet Lot's flock that is literally trying to destroy this man's life for a storyline? Or to get back at somebody they don't like? That's a dangerous person. You know what? So who called you Porsha Jr.? You are turning it apart. That's a dangerous person, right? Anyway, they asked Kandi, why were you mad? And she's like, I don't like when people use religion as a weapon, which Drew's doing. Even the way they make a mockery of religion, and listen, I'm not religious. I make a mockery of religion, but not like that. They make a mockery of religion. They make a mockery of Black culture. Even the way, to me, it was a mockery of Black culture, the way I'm not religious, but I know my culture, and I know a lot of people are. And it's not funny to be like, let's anoint this, like it's a Tyler Perry comedy, and hold hands and say something over the thing. Dory, just let's anoint our tongues like it's a Tyler Perry thing, and then be like, yeah, all over your face. You made a mockery of. I never thought I would be defending the church or religion, but here we are. Drew's gotten on my nerves so much. I'm defending organized religion. Let's move on, because I don't like this side of me. Right? Andy correctly says to Drew, if you're going to be on a housewife, you really got to deliver the receipts, because honestly, the shit she came was a nothing. It was Binder Time Part 2, which, by the way, I got to review that because, Monique was tripping. She was tripping, and she was just like, y'all just don't understand. It's art. Sitting there locking and putting her chest into Binder Time. I'm going to do a review on that. But anyway, Drew, again, makes a mockery of religion. It's like, it was spiritual receipts. It's not spiritual receipts. Spiritual receipts is the same thing that you and Porsha has. The way Porsha has emotional truth, that's not truth. Anytime you put something in front of it, that's not truth anymore. Anytime you put a word in front of receipt, it's not receipts anymore, right? And she said the spiritual receipts, then she starts slandering the prophet, his thing, saying that she's read some interesting stuff on the internet. And Latoya had a good point. So this false prophet was supposed to bless your baby. If all this shit's been on the internet, why did you not know about it and tell me? So you're mad that a false prophet didn't bless your baby? Or are you mad that the false image of the prophet that you wanted, like, you're not mad at the shit he did. You're mad that you found out because of Latoya, and then you found out he was a false prophet. But if that's the case, why are you mad at Latoya? Anyway, it's a mess. They move on. Let's move on past this. So then they move to this dumb $1,000 gift exchange. Listen, Cynthia got all the girls together. Yes, Cynthia finally spoke. She got all the girls together and was like, listen, Porsha, you were the main person talking trash to. Nobody wanted that $1,000, not even you. So who we just all agreed Drew played herself. I'm paraphrasing, of course. And everybody agreed Drew played herself. But then again, that fake Christian brought God in it. But look at God's will, because you got the bottles. Drew, you were... I'm not going to give her my energy. I'm not. But the whole point of she got the bottles, that was some bullshit, what you did. If Kenya had not taken the bottles, she would have went home with that nasty wig and everything else, right? So Drew was like, they were bundles. You can dye them. It was disgusting that you gave somebody used hair. But even if they were bundles, right? Even if they were bundles, right? And you could tell by the wig that it wasn't like a constructed wig. It wasn't bundles. It was like a pre-made wig, right? Like she says that, Drew, nobody wants your old disgusting hair, right? So then she was like, Andy asked him, have you guys even been to church? And Drew was like, do you even go to church? See, Drew, this is my whole point with you. This is why people shy away from the church, and organized religion is not down with it, because of you. Latoya tried to have a spiritual journey. She tried to better herself. You used that as a weapon for a reality TV show. But my real issue with Drew is, and here it is, even if it wasn't a reality TV show, you still would have had a problem with her. You still would have used it. It might have been behind the pulpit, no cameras around, but you still would have used it to drive her out. Because honestly, I'm beginning to think, does Drew like Prophet Lot? It's weird to me. Or maybe she just really is intimidated by Latoya, because Drew puts on so many faces. I don't want none of y'all to be like, oh, but she's an actress. That's not it. Drew puts on so many faces, and even behind the facade that she plays on Real Housewives, I can see where her insecurity lies. And I think, again, when people are super insecure, they really do feel some way about somebody that lives in their truth. LaToya is a mess. LaToya does have mean girl tendencies. LaToya is all over the place. But you know what? LaToya owns it, and she says, and so what? And even with all those things you think are wrong with me, I'm still worthy, and I'm still here, so what's up? And Drew doesn't like that. It really intimidates her, you know? Then Drew invites her, again, that church shade, to go to church with her mom, because we can't have Delilah around any men. Man, somebody made a good point. Is Ralph up there cheating left or right? Because Drew does give me those vibes of, if a man cheats, it's the woman's fault because you led him into something, because men are just these creatures, just like Drew, Eve made Adam eat from the tree. I don't even know that biblical tale. But again, I think in that biblical tale, they blamed Eve for everything, okay? So anyway, we talk about, you know, what happened between the fall of Trolisha, right? Trolisha, Kenya, and Porsha. Porsha starts making all these excuses, you know, saying when she saw her treat her friends a certain way. Now, here's the thing, because I get people want to do. Porsha has a point. If I'm friends with you, and I see you dog out, do this, do that to other people, I'm going to assume you're going to do this with me. I'm just going to assume. I'm going to assume. If I see you treat others bad, if I see you lie on people, I'm going to assume you're going to do the same thing to me. And no, I don't want to be friends with you. Porsha has a point objectively. Objectively, what you're saying is 100% right. And if that was the actual subjective truth, I would be like, you know what? Porsha's right. However, Porsha, this is not a PR campaign. This is not your Instagram live. You can't game us. We all saw what happened with Kenya. You were happy to be friends with Kenya. Nene got on the scene, and then you didn't want to be friends with Kenya anymore because you were sidling up to power, which is Nene, right? Kenya says that she was really, really upset to see Porsha, right? To see Porsha and to see Kandi, interestingly enough, laughing about how Mark runs her ass. Mark is controlling. Mark is domineering. Mark is, to me, low-key abusive, right? So Porsha's like, well, you know, I don't have to make excuses for why I let friends go, which is true. But when you let her go, you just didn't say, I just don't want to be friends with her anymore. You were like, oh, I saw things that Kenya did that triggered me. Listen, tell the truth, right? Tell the truth. You were looking for an excuse to distance yourself from Kenya, and you used every other excuse because you saw the way she treated other people and it did not bother you. You saw what you did to Marlo and it tickled you. You saw all this stuff and it didn't bother you. Now, this is also did something interesting. It showed me insight into where Porsha's hate for Kenya actually started. So they show her and she's like, and I want to thank Kenya Moore, Miss America, and Kenya was like Miss USA, or whatever the titles is. I might have it mixed up. And Kenya just said Miss USA, like, you know, because this is her work, this is her legacy, get it right. I went to a bunch of schooling. If you are announcing me for my education, you're going to have to get my degrees right? If you work at a job and somebody's announcing you to the public, get my name right, get my titles right. It is a form of respect. However, I saw Porsha, and when she was in that thing, I actually felt sorry for her because I heard her voice shaking. I saw how nervous she was. Say what you want. Cordell, to me, was very, very, very mentally abusive to Porsha. Porsha was still young. She did not know herself. She was trying to hide herself behind religion, behind being a wife. She didn't know herself yet. She was in a public event. She felt very, very insecure. And at that time, that emotionally insecure, unevolved cancer, Kenya really hurt her because Porsha felt stupid. She felt nervous. She felt judged. She felt vulnerable. And Kenya didn't realize that. And Kenya corrected her. And Porsha, that's where the feud started. In a time of weakness, in a time where Porsha felt so vulnerable, Kenya sucker punched her. And Kenya didn't realize, but she sucker punched her in her gut where her insecurity lies. And an idol that she worshiped, that she idolized, sucker punched her in the gut. I think that's where their feud started. It hurt her. And again, with unevolved cancers, there is no emotional logic. You can say, Porsha, it wasn't that deep, but to Porsha, it was. And that's where that seed was planted. And Porsha has never got over her idol in her mind, humiliating her in public. All right, let's move on. Also, before I forget, y'all probably don't care, but I'm still gonna put everything in here. SHAMEA had a moment finally. She was like, hold on, Andy, you know that I consider you the preacher. Everybody stop kissing Andy's ass, right? She wants to say her word, right? She said, Porsha's my best friend. I'm loyal to her. She's a supportive friend. Don't you dare call a lapdog. Porsha finally defends SHAMEA. Yeah, don't call her a lapdog. Girl, you were on Instagram yourself sitting on her lap going, I'm a lapdog, right? Stop it. It's not that serious, but clearly it hurt you. Listen, I'm not saying you're her lapdog, but to Kenya's point, somebody has to be a friend to have a friend in return. Porsha does not defend SHAMEA. Porsha is not the friend, at least as far as I can see. Whatever the situation is, SHAMEA is comfortable with their friendship logistics. However, you can't get mad because people define your relationship and say that you are a lapdog, just like Kenya can't get mad that Porsha has an opinion of her relationship, her Marlo's friendship, or whatever else. You are what you are. I don't know why that bothers you so much. If somebody called me somebody's lapdog, I would just laugh it off like, yeah, sure, whatever. I wouldn't care. Would it annoy me? Yes. Enough for me to finally open my mouth at a reunion and defend myself over that? Hell no. All right, so let's move on into the meat of things, even though it's the last 10 minutes where we truly see that Porsha is dangerous. Porsha has not changed, and Porsha is just vindictive. The way that she is that unevolved cancer and she is willing to go to hell, I'm telling y'all, Porsha is who everybody accuses Kenya of being. They get up to leave and they're like, Marlo, SHAMEA, all the bees, Latoya, thank you, let's leave the main cast members, right? They get up. Porsha starts yelling, yeah, and you're a convicted felon, and I don't feel safe, and I need security, when I leave because I don't know what's going on. Y'all, do you know what Porsha did in those moments? Let me tell you the excuse they make for Marlo not being on TV. Let me tell you the excuses they make for why they fired Monique, even though they tried. When you're a convicted felon, you are a danger. There is something about our social justice system. It's very punitive, no matter what color you are. But when you are Black, it is especially harsh and unforgiving. When you are a felon, you have been demonized. You cannot get jobs. People don't want you to live in their neighborhoods. Even though other countries, you go to jail and you pay your debt to society, your debt to society is never paid once you go. And for a Black person, a Black man, a Black woman, it is a billion times worse because systematic racism. Porsha should know this because she is social justice snatch, right? But let's talk about Bravo. In order to appear with talent, you need to be insured, right? And you need to mitigate the threat. Because even though Porsha's gotten in a fight, she went to therapy, there were never any formal charges filed, right? Great. Marlo's different. Marlo is a felon coming in, and she's a felon for assault. I've heard it was a brutal assault. I didn't read up on. I read a little bit about it, but I can't remember how brutal it was. But by all reports, it is a brutal assault. It happened when she was younger. Clearly, Marlo has grown and Marlo has changed because I have not seen her put her hands on anyone. However, in the eyes of the insurance company that has to insure production, Marlo is a real visible threat. If Marlo ever gets her peach and she attacks any cast member, that cast member can now sue through their contract because you bought a real and present threat on the scene. I told you I didn't feel safe. I told you I felt uncomfortable, and they attacked me. You are liable for whatever pain, and my contract is ripped up, right? And I can sue Bravo for whatever because you have knowingly exposed me to a threat. There are certain things you cannot waive, right? I cannot waive that I want to be beat up. I cannot waive. Porsha knew what she was doing, and by her being vindictive and being like, you're a convicted felon, and first off, that was a white woman saying that, or anyone that wasn't Black, you would have accused them of racism, right? You would have accused them of racism, but because it came from Porsha, who was all about helping criminal justice, who felt comfortable doing that, she's giving a pass for doing that. And I already was on Twitter. I know half of y'all are giving her a pass, so before you even stop, but you also stopped Bravo, or at least put a big hindrance into giving her a peach. To say, I feel unsafe and I'm gonna need security in my room, that was so evil. It was so irresponsible. And on top of that, it was a lie, because you don't feel unsafe with Marlo. You don't. We all know it. If anything, you've been the aggressor a lot with Marlo. You don't feel, you were just kikiing out. But the fact that you used her criminal conviction as a black woman as a way to stop her check, all because you're mad that she told the world that you slept with a stripper, that's evil, that's dangerous. But this is right in line with everything Porsha does. Now, Marlo did say, Andy, do you feel like I attack you? And Andy was like, with love. And she said, Kenya, what about you? And Kenya was like, absolutely not. She probably asked everybody else. Porsha knew what she was doing. She enjoyed it. That smirk on her face. But to use a felony conviction, whether or not she is guilty or not, obviously she was found guilty in a court of law, is of no concern, because she paid her debt to society. And the fact that you would use that to humiliate her and stop her bag, Porsha, you are low. You are a liar. You are scum. And when that happened, I said, I can't rock with people that defend Porsha, because there's that emotional truth that everything she does is justified, and everything else, once the ends justifies the means, that you stoop that low, and you're literally going to like marching for criminal justice and changing the way and criminal justice reform and all the stuff that Ben and Jerry, which remember when she was on her live being like, y'all like Ben and Jerry's ice cream, right? That sure is good. Let me tell y'all how they can make a change. And the thing that you threw in Marlo's face was the thing that you were trying to promote on Ben and Jerry's site about treating felons and giving them opportunities. Man, get out of here. Porsha is a fake. She is a fraud. And anybody that stands with her, it's not the point I question your intelligence. It's the point that you need to grow up and disconnect your emotions from reality. No matter how mad you are at a situation, you need to look at everything. But this is just like when she didn't invite Kenya. But anyway, let's move on. So they're wrapping the reunion up. They're asking everybody what they've learned. Cynthia said, I learned to take nothing for granted. Because it can all end in an instant, but you weren't thinking about that during your wedding, because you were like, it could end in an instant, but y'all better make sure that you're at my wedding. Kandi says that she's going to focus on family and put family first. I guess during the COVID, it did force her to slow down a little bit, and maybe she enjoyed being at home. But I think they have a nice little thing with Todd being Mr. Mom and Kandi going to get that money. Kenya said that she's figuring out things for her daughter. She's learning that she does a lot of stuff based in fear, and 50's a reset, and she wants to be fearless. I do hope that's true. I did just look on her Instagram, and she posted like a picture of a video of her on a carousel with Brooklyn, and Mark's dumbass was in the back. Oh, wish he'd get rid of her. Drew is focused on healing. Girl, whatever. Porsha, focus on becoming Porsha, but true to the old Porsha, you always have to compare yourself in relation to someone else. Everybody talk about what they were doing. Porsha, I'm focused on becoming my Porsha, and some people are wondering why they can't come on this journey looking over at Porsha, looking over at Kenya, but I am who I am. Girl, shut up. Anyway, y'all, that's enough for the reunion. I'm going to post later on today, Kandi speak on it, and I'm going to post a little bit of gossip. Hot topics. It seems to be popular on YouTube. You know, I'm trying to worm my way into your hearts. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much. Like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys later on today. All right? Mwah. Bye.